Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving into a concept from Buddhist philosophy that might just flip the way you see yourself completely upside down. It's called Sunyata, and it all kicks off with one pretty mind-bending question.
Right off the bat, does the I that you feel, that feeling of me that's right at the center of your whole world, does it not actually exist the way you think it does? Now, this isn't just some tricky riddle. It's really the doorway to one of the most profound ideas in Buddhism. So let's get into it.
Okay, so the key word here is sunyata. Now, when you translate it as emptiness, that can sound, well, a little bleak, right? Like it's all about a big, empty void. But that's a huge misunderstanding. It doesn't mean nothing exists. It means that things, including you and me, are empty of a fixed, separate, unchanging self.
So for this first part, let's investigate that feeling, that constant sense of me. Where does it even come from? And if we poke at it, what's it actually made of?
Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine a cloud. From way down here, it looks like one solid, fluffy thing, right? But if you could get up close, what is it? It's just a swirling collection of water vapor, constantly changing shape, never the same from one second to the next. Buddhist philosophy is saying our sense of self is exactly like that cloud. It's just a temporary gathering of constantly shifting parts that we mistake for something solid and permanent.
Let's try a little thought experiment. If you lost an arm, would you still be you? Yeah, of course. What if you lost a really important memory? Still you. What if, over years and years, your whole personality changed and you became a totally different person? Where is the essential you that stays the same through all of that? The harder you look for that permanent core, the more it seems to just slip through your fingers.
And that brings us to a really crucial question. If we aren't this permanent, unchanging self, then what in the world are we? Well, Buddhist philosophy has a very specific answer for that.
The answer is something called the Five Aggregates, or the Skandhas. Think of it like a house built from Legos. The house isn't its own separate thing, right? It's just what we call the temporary arrangement of all those individual bricks. Take the Legos apart, and the house is gone. In the exact same way, our self is just what we call it when these five components come together and do their thing.
So what are these 5 Lego bricks? Okay, first up, you've got form. That's our physical body, all the material stuff. Easy enough. Then there's feeling, and this is just basic sensations. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Like the feeling of a cool breeze. Third is perception. This is our brain's labeling function, recognizing that a sound is a bird or that a shape is a chair. Fourth, we have mental formations. This is the busy, messy part. All our thoughts, moods, opinions, and intentions. And finally, number 5 is consciousness. This is just the basic awareness that lets you experience the other 4. And here's the wild part. According to this view, that's it. That's the whole recipe. There's no little CEO sitting in your brain's headquarters, no ghost in the machine. It's just these 5 processes all working together. And the crucial insight, the real game changer, is that none of these 5 things are standing still, not for a nanosecond. They're constantly bubbling up and disappearing, moment to moment to moment. Our sense of being a continuous, solid self is kind of like a movie. It seems like a smooth, flowing story. But what is it really? It's just a bunch of still frames being shown one after another really, really fast. Our self isn't a noun. It's a verb. It's a process, not a thing.
Okay, I know this is all very fascinating philosophy, but you might be thinking, so what? Why does this matter when I'm stuck in traffic? Well, let's move on. Because this idea is actually seen as the root cause of our stress, our anxiety, and our suffering.
The problem has a name, Sakkaya Ditthi. It's a fancy term for a very simple and very human mistake. It's that deep-down, gut-level feeling that there is a real, solid me in here. A me that has to be protected, that has to win, that has to be defended at all costs. This mistaken belief is what makes us cling to things, what makes us crave, what makes us feel personally attacked, and what makes us suffer when things don't go my way.
And this slide just shows the real-world power of this idea perfectly. Let's say you get some criticism at work. On the left, if you're clinging to that solid idea of me, it feels like a personal attack. They're attacking me, and you immediately get angry and defensive. But look at the right. If you can see it through the lens of Sunyata, the thought changes. It's just, feedback about this work is arising. It's not about me being attacked, it's about the work. That little bit of space it creates allows for a totally different, much calmer, and way more productive response.
Now, what is absolutely mind-blowing is that this 2,500-year-old idea,
this notion of interconnectedness and no separate things, finds some really stunning parallels in the discoveries of modern science.
For hundreds of years, classical physics, Newton's world, saw the universe as a bunch of separate, solid things, kind of like billiard balls bouncing off each other. But when we started looking deeper into the quantum world, that whole picture just fell apart. We found that at the most fundamental level of reality, it's not made of things at all. It's an interconnected web of relationships and probabilities, where particles can be mysteriously linked across huge distances. It's a universe of interdependence, which sounds a lot like what Sunyata has been saying all along.
And you don't need a particle accelerator to see this in action. Just look at an ecosystem like a mangrove forest. The trees, the crabs, the fish, the tiny microorganisms in the water, every single piece is completely dependent on every other piece. You can't just take one element away without affecting the whole system. It's a perfect, living, breathing example of how nothing really exists on its own.
Okay, so how do we take this from being just a cool idea in our heads to something we can actually feel and experience in our lives? Let's talk about some simple, practical ways to bring this understanding into your day-to-day.
It can seriously start with just a tiny shift in how you talk to yourself. Instead of saying, "I am angry," try reframing it as, "There is an arising of anger." See the difference? It's huge. In that second version, you are no longer identifying with the anger. You're not the anger. You're the one who is observing it as a temporary weather pattern passing through. You become the space for the emotion, not the emotion itself.
A really simple way to practice this is with just a few minutes of mindfulness. Just sit down and for 5 minutes, just notice the sensation of your breath. Now, your mind is going to wander. That's what minds do. When a thought pops up, just gently label it in your head, thinking, and then guide your attention back to your breath. If a strong emotion comes up, see if you can notice where you feel it in your body. Just watch it as a physical sensation. What you're doing is training yourself to see your thoughts and feelings as passing events in your awareness, not as the definition of you. You're watching those 5 aggregates in real time.
And you can bring this into your regular activities too. Next time you eat, just take 1 second to think about the incredible web of connections that brought that food to your plate. The sun, the rain, the farmer, the truck driver, the person at the grocery store. When you get dressed, think about all the hands that made your clothes. When you start doing this, you start to see that nothing exists in a vacuum. Everything is connected. And that realization starts to dissolve that old false feeling that we're somehow separate from the world.
And this really brings us to the whole point. Understanding Sunyata isn't about becoming nothing or being detached from life. It's about freedom. Think about it. If there's no fixed, fragile self that you have to constantly protect and defend and promote, what happens to all that stress, all that anxiety, all that fear of not being good enough? What kind of profound peace and freedom could we find if we just let go of that heavy burden?